up, my homies and fellow NFT collectors? Today's video is going to be focused on serial numbers or mint numbers when it comes to NFTs, especially comic book NFTs like Marvel Comics and DC Comics. We're going to talk about whether or not low serial numbers should have extra value or special serial numbers, and we're going to talk about also how to find the serial numbers on the DC Comics Palm NFT marketplace for NFTs that are listed on the market, so you can hunt for low serial numbers if you think they're valuable when you're shopping on that platform. And we're also going to talk about why I think uncommon comics on the DC platform are really undervalued and why I prefer to collect those over their rare counterparts. Alright, so to start off today's video, we're going to talk about serial numbers and whether or not they matter, whether they should have extra value. And this is a long argument that we've had on VeVe in the community in the past, but when VeVe put out their MCP Medium article showing that you get extra MCP points for holding low serial numbers, that kind of put the argument to rest that low serial numbers must have extra value. However, looking at the new DC Comics on the Palm platform, they don't even put those serial numbers, the same token IDs that VeVe uses as their serial numbers, they don't even put those on their information on the website or in the marketplace, which makes us think that they don't value those at all. Another way to compare how VeVe values serial numbers compared to the DC platform is that VeVe keeps the first 40 serial numbers when they have a collectible NFT drop, and even the first 185 or first 200 on their comic drops. On the other hand, even though DC Comics does hold some of theirs back, they don't keep any low serial numbers. There's actually some people in the community who have found that their serial number for their comic book NFT on the DC Palm platform is 0. That's actually the first serial number. So if you had serial number 1, token ID 1 on that platform, it would actually be the second comic that was minted for that particular NFT. It's clear when you look in the VeVe market that people are putting extra value on those low serial numbers, and even when you look at other NFT platforms like NBA Top Shot, Quid, Hero, all of those NFTs with the lower serial numbers on those platforms also sell for more. The difference with the NFTs on the DC platform is that those token IDs or those serial numbers aren't listed on their information when you look at them on the website or the market. In order to see the token IDs or the serial numbers for those DC NFTs, you have to actually look into the metadata, which I'm going to explain how to do later in this video. But first, let's look at a recent poll that I ran on my Twitter account that had over 500 votes asking, do you think low serial numbers have extra value or not? And you can see here where about 69% of the respondents said that they have extra value. And really, market sentiment is the most important thing. So that's one very important factor right there, and I think what we're really trying to determine is, do these low token ID DC comic NFTs on the marketplace have extra value? Are they worth looking up to find the low token IDs and paying a little extra for them, even though it's not in the information on the website? And looking through the comments of that Twitter poll, you can see a lot of arguments both ways. Adam, for example, said that DC is right, that no one should care about mint numbers, especially with comics, because mints ruin the market and only rarity should matter. And some people think that DC has their own grading system where they put grades on the different rarities of their comic NFTs, and that should take the place of serial numbers. In my opinion, the serial numbers have to matter at least a little bit, because if not, then they're all exactly the same. If you want to buy a Superman #1 uncommon comic and there are 10 on the market for $400 each, and one of those just happens to be token ID 1 and the rest of them are 4-digit token IDs, you're probably going to buy that one, and that in itself gives it extra value. It's a little bit different for Marvel Comics on VeVe because the lowest serial numbers start at 186 or 201, so there's a lot of low serial numbers that were held back by VeVe that will eventually get released on the market in the future. We've already seen a couple 2-digit Marvel Comic #1s get put on the market recently, so I even feel like those low token IDs or low serial numbers help the DC Comic NFTs even more than they help the Marvel Comic NFTs on VeVe. Besides low serial numbers, you also have special serial numbers like the year that the comic was published or 616 for Marvel Comics, and I think those are also always going to hold extra value, and that maybe you should be looking for those if you think that serial numbers like that have extra value when you're shopping on the DC Comic platform. So next we're going to talk about how you can look up the token ID or the serial numbers for DC Comic NFTs on the marketplace before you purchase them. Yesterday, the OG Tokeno Craft put out another Medium article explaining a few different methods of how you can look up DC NFT mint numbers on the marketplace. And the first method is definitely going to be the easiest one. There's already a website set up for this. It's called DC3 Mint Number Lookups by GM Ryan. And from here, if you're on the marketplace for DC Comics and you find a comic that you're interested in buying, you can just cut and paste the token ID for that particular comic on the marketplace into this DC3 Mint Number Lookup website, and then click that drop down menu and select the comic that you're looking at. Then just click the Get Selected Text Value button and you'll find out the token ID or the serial number for that comic. I know some people on Twitter have mentioned that timestamps are more important than the token ID number, but I have went through and looked at these token IDs to see if they're minted in order, and they do go in order. The 0 ID token ID was the first NFT of that comic that was minted, and then token ID 1 was the second minted comic, and then token ID 2 was the third, and so on. There's also a couple other more complicated methods that you can use to look up the token IDs for DC Comic NFTs on the marketplace that are listed in that Medium article. I'll post the Medium article by TokenOCraft in the description below. One way to look up those token IDs in case that website stops working for some reason is the third method in that Medium article, looking them up on the blockchain, where all you have to do is copy and paste the token ID into the URL for any of your own NFTs that you're looking up, and then you'll just have to replace the contract address. That's where it gets a little complicated. In the Medium article, TokenOCraft has added all the contract addresses for each comic. So for a quick example, let's use this method to look up a token ID of a comic on the marketplace. The first thing I'm going to do is go to my collection and click on one of my comics, and then click on the view on Palm Explorer for one of my comics, and now we have the URL that we want to work with here. Now I'm going to go back to the DC marketplace and look up a comic that I want to find the serial number or token ID for. And in this case, it's going to be this Superman right here. So let's say I want to buy one of them off the floor, but I want to find a good serial number before I do, or a good token ID. I would go to the top one, copy this token ID number right here, and then go back to that Palm Explorer page that we just opened up. Replace this last number here with that token ID. And now you're going to have to change the instance here for Superman number 1, that comic. And for that, you'll go back to the Medium article. You'll go to Superman number 1. You'll copy this address right here. Then you'll go back to your original URL. And you'll replace that first address with this address. And now you've got that NFT pulled up. You're going to want to go to the bottom one, like always, when you're looking for that token ID, the token minting, and click on the top link. Now that we're in the right page, we need to scroll down to the logs area, click on the logs tab, and we can see the token ID for that comic is 508. So if I was shopping for one of those comics, I might go through and look at the bottom 4 or 5 on the floor at all the token IDs and try to buy the one with the lowest token ID number. Alright guys, with that being said, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about during my DC Comics video here, and that's their uncommon comics. I've heard arguments both for and against those uncommon comics, and I have to say they've grown on me a lot. I think that they're very artistic, but also the most effort goes into making those. And you know that's the case because DC decided to make those the uncommons, even though they're graded 2.0s on the website, whereas the commons are graded 8.5s. So they have those 2.0 uncommons over the commons already, so you know that they're special, and I feel like a lot of work goes into them, and that I'm trying to collect those even over the rares because they have more artistic value and they're just more interesting. They're going to look great in the metaverse, and they have a lot of interesting details that comic book collectors will recognize. For example, the date on the Superman that was stamped on the uncommon is the date that it was released. And the address written on the recent Brave and the Bold number 28 uncommon is actually the address of an old comic book shop. You even have the Wonder Woman comic, which actually has a misprint on the uncommon where they used the same stamp that they used for Superman number 1, so they have the wrong date on there. So there's really a lot of interesting things going on with those, and I dig them a lot. Let me know your opinions in the comments if you guys feel the same way about those uncommons. I've only purchased one recently. It was the Wonder Woman. It was only like $7. I'm personally saving up for a Bat Cow right now. And tomorrow DC is dropping a new Poison Ivy comic NFT. Now this is one of the more modern comics, and you got to keep in mind that those uncommons that the vintage DC comics have, they don't apply to the modern comics. The modern comics they drop usually have variant covers the same way that VeVe does. And that's the case as well for tomorrow's Poison Ivy drop. I will be live streaming the drop. I don't know if I'm going to go for it. I'm not sure if it's going to be profitable unless you get an epic or a rare on the drop. but we might be able to use this DC3 mint number lookup website and snipe some low token IDs off the marketplace after tomorrow's drop. So I will see you guys there. Thanks for watching, and good luck on the drop if you're going for it. Later.